Greetings, duelists, and welcome back to the Underground. This is episode 23, which means if we do this 3 more times, we'll reach the number 69. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, welcome to Burst Protocol format. There are a couple of things we need to talk about. The first thing we need to talk about is Malice viable for next format? The second thing we need to talk about is, can Malice still thrive even without White Binder? And the last thing is, are there any new cards or new tools that come out in Burst Protocol that really benefit Malice? Well, the first thing I want to do is show you a White Rabbit combo. A lot of combos that I've shown in this channel were pretty much with the Super Quants, and I know that some Malice players who watch my channel are just a fan of the Adignisters and the typical other builds of Malice. And here's for me to show you that you can still do those very insane combos that I've done in the past, even with regular Malice. Now, let's start with White Rabbit. White Rabbit is going to go for TB11, 11 for Dormouse. We're going to make Lizard, Lizard for Dormouse, Dormouse for Chessy Cat. And then we go to the Red Ransom line. You probably are familiar with all of this already. Like, basically, you're using your only one rabbit to exhaust all your resources for this. Be aware that you are very susceptible to hand traps. This is the reason why all these cards were hit, the numbers that were hit. We only have one Dormouse because, you know, Dormouse is the best starter. White Rabbit is not a 3 because multiple White Rabbits means just multiple cycling of your trap cards. We're not gonna play multiple traps, but I do think TB11 is very important if you open White Rabbit. Let's get going. So we go Chessy, Chessy Banish, we draw 2, Banish 11, 11 for 6. So since this is a 1-card combo, we are cycling through our traps. You will notice that by the end of this combo, there are going to be no trap cards in our board. But that doesn't mean that you don't get to fetch MTPO7 in the next turn. We flip 6, we go for Ramson, we grab Marsh here, we make Wicked, Wicked Disciple, we Disciple to back up, we're going to back up for Wizard. That makes us Heat Soul draws us another card, we then go for Wizard, and then that makes Adinister. You can make Lingeribo before making the Ally Code Talker, and that makes it so this Ally Code Talker cannot can just swiftly negate if your opponent tries to contest it. And not only that, you have Lingeribo in your graveyard just so you can dodge certain cards with the Ally Code. I just demonstrating how this end combo goes. You ended on Heat Soul, you drew 3 cards, and then the Heat Soul is gonna draw you another card in another turn, which I think is really good for considering this is a 1-card Malice combo, right? Now, some people in my channel ask for 2-card combos. There are multiple 2-card combos that you can do in this deck, and I'm just going to grab the most common one, which is the Chessy Cat Bestial line. A lot of things don't change. It's pretty much gonna be almost the same thing that you're used to, but we're not going to grab the Mirror. We're going to grab Underground because again, this is a 2-card combo relying on no other cards, which means you probably don't have other ways to extend if you're doing this specific line. So this essentially feels like a 1-card combo in disguise. So we're going to Underground. Underground for Dormouse, Dormouse for Rabbit, Rabbit comes back, Rabbit says 11, we're going to flip 11, go for March, this goes back, Wicked into Link Disciple, and then that goes back to our hand. We do Heat Soul, you go back up, add Wizard, and then you end on Hard Crifter, you go Wizard, Wizard for Cat. You haven't used Cat's effect, so you can draw with the Cat if you want. And then you go for Ally Code. And you have Ally Code, March here into rotation, and you have your Heart Scripter in graveyard. So You could cycle this combo in a different avenues. You could just, like, for example, not waste your trap and end on a trap and just use the red ramson as material and not cycle the marsh hare like with the wicked. There are some avenues to this and there are some nuances on how you perform this combo. I just showed you a very basic one that, you know, you could get your feet wet like while you're practicing this deck, like with the regular combos. Now, this is in a scenario with the quantum cards, and because I'm pretty sure some people are curious, what happens if you have quantums with other extenders, right? The other thing we're going to talk about is what hand traps are going to be popular and not popular. I don't know if Nibiru or Droll are going to be popular. A lot of people are cutting these cards from their main deck at the moment because Radiant Typhoon is very popular and these cards are not that great against Radiant Typhoon. You can make the argument for Droll being good against Radiant Typhoon, but it's very dependent on the player's skill level. If the player's skill level with Radiant Typhoon is not high enough, then Droll is a really strong check against them. But if it is high enough, then Droll is not gonna do a lot. Same thing for Nibiru. Nibiru is probably not gonna be as popular. However, these are the strongest hand traps against Malice, right? Like, every other hand trap is just not good enough. Can we play around these two hand traps with this hand? We're going for blue. Blue adds us layer 19. That already checks the Droll. Like, the Droll is going to be activated. And they have one summon for Nibiru. We're going 19. 19 is the second summon. We're going to do Zaytan, and Zaytan is going to summon Red. That is the third summon. And Red is going to grab Zaytan. We're going to Zaytan here. And if people are catching up to you, we're going to make this Zaytan level 5 instead of making this Zaytan level 3. And the reason we're making this Zaytan level 5 is because there's a very popular rank 5 monster in the game that checks a lot of hand traps. I think we already know which one we're talking about. That being said, this is basically the Nibiru check, because any other summon after this, they have to Nibiru. Because otherwise, that looming rank 5 monster that we're talking about, that boogeyman that like chases cats and dogs, you already know what I'm talking about, is going to check the Nibiru. And the Droll just won't matter anymore because we have a handful of extenders. That being said, we're going to overlay into Super Quantal Mech Beast Magna Liger. And yes, I was talking about Ripper. If you want to play Ripper in your extra deck, there is a deck building consensus for it. I have seen people that are playing Izuna in their deck and just play Ripper. The reason I don't like that in particular is because of Dominance Impulse. However, if you can find the extra deck space and you have the consensus for it, you can play Ripper. And you can just summon Ripper, and Ripper just checks every hand trap, and you're just very safe against everything else your opponent throws on board. That being said, we are going to Magna Liger, and Magna Liger is really strong because if they try to Nibiru you in here, the Magna Liger makes it so the red layer falls off, and the red layer brings back a Quantum. And let me show you an example. We're going to Underground for Rabbit, we're going to summon the Rabbit, and Rabbit is going to activate. If your opponent catches on very well, they will Nibiru here. But let's say you already set your trap and they try to Nibiru. If they don't Nibiru, we're going straight for Red Ramson, and we're going to chain Red to the other Red. We are on the Droll, so you know this Red shouldn't be able to activate here. But if we're not on the Droll, this chain blocks, so that way you dodge Ash Blossom with Red Ramson. If they actually do Nibiru, we're going to chain 11, banish the White Rabbit, and this is going to summon Dormouse. The Dormouse gets tributed, and we get a token. But now, the red layer gets to trigger and bring back the blue layer. And now with blue layer and token, we can make Lizardos. And Lizardos can just banish the Dormouse, and that's just full Malice combo through Droll and Nibiru. Now you understand why I really like the Quantum cards. So that's one particular thing I kind of wanted to show you. Now, let's start talking about post-burst protocol. So, one card that I think is very welcomed in this deck is Forbidden Crown. Forbidden Crown is a really, really popular card right now. It is probably the most hyped card in Burst Protocol. However, the thing about Crown is there is a very specific win condition in the Malice deck that you can activate involving Forbidden Crown. I gotta call this combo a crown fit for a queen. I'm going to fast forward to this because you're going to be familiar with some of these. So we're going to summon red for blue, and this is a freestyle combo because, you know, this hand was very freestyle, but you're going to notice it's going to be almost the same thing. So we're at this point right here where we have Magna Liger, Zaytan, and blue layer. The Zaytan is going to be level 3. Again, if you play Ripper in your deck, you could play Ripper instead and just summon Ripper. And now we're going to summon Cherubini with these two. Now, I'm going to show you a really cool trick. So you see this Magna Liger, right? Magna Liger has the effect to detach a material to target a monster on the field and destroy it, right? So we're going to Cherubini, send the Dormouse. We're going to Magna Liger, detach red layer, and target itself to be destroyed. However, Cherubini makes it so monsters that are pointing to it cannot be destroyed by card effects. That includes their own card effects. So that this red layer, this Magna Liger stays, but this red layer gets to activate, and red layer brings back blue layer. Now we'll go blue layer and this into Lizard. Blue layer is going to shuffle back. Lizard for Dormouse. Dormouse comes back. Dormouse. So Dormouse for Rabbit. Rabbit comes back. Rabbit for 11. We're going to make red. Red adds us Malice in the Mirror. You're familiar with all these parts right now. We're going to Chessie. Red vanishes. We're going to grab March Hair. We're going to Wicked. Wicked into Disciple. We're bringing back the Rabbit. We get back the backup. We're going to draw for Mirror. We're going to banish to get GWC. And now we're going to summon the backup. And backup is going to add us Wizard. So there are different lines you can take here. You can grab these two and make Heat Soul. And then with Heat Soul and these can just go into Heart Scripter. And you just drew an extra card. Or you can just go the Attic Nister line. The line I'm gonna be doing in particular is going to demonstrate 2 new cards. Forbidden Crown is one of them. So the line I'm opting for to go to is Sarjuya. In case you ask why this March here in the graveyard is because of backup's effect, the backup discard. So we're going to do Sarjuya. Sarjuya is going to draw us 4 cards and shuffle back 3. So we have 3 extra cards in additional to these 5 cards in our hand. We're going to Skuldred, summon the March Hare. It could be any monster. We're just using the March Hare in this example. And we're going to, and you're probably thinking, March Hare and Skuldred doesn't work with Wizard. What is this Wizard doing? Why did I keep the Wizard and not shuffle it back if we're going to end on Sarjuya and just a Magna Liger, right? Well, there's a new monster coming out in Burst Protocol, and we're going to make that monster with Sarjuya. And that monster is Topologic Blaster Dragon. So Topologic Blaster Dragon is a Link 5 monster, and its materials are 2+ effect monsters. Which means you can use a Link 4 and a level 1, and just any monster. Sarjuja is now a bridge into a Cybers monster by link climbing and without using extra materials. And this is a really big deal because this Topologic Blaster Dragon makes it so we can activate Wizard. So let's read Topologic Blaster effect real quick. You cannot special summon monsters in the extra monster zones if this card pointing. That's to avoid B-linking. If a monster is special summoned to a link zone this card points to, while is in the extra monster zone, which it is, apply one of these effects, but you cannot activate the same effect once per again this turn. Shuffle all monsters on the field into the deck. Shuffle all spell and traps on the field into the deck. Look at your opponent's extra deck and banish one card from it. All really strong effects. Also, something really important I have to mention. This is not sequential. You can just pick any effect. It is mandatory. Like, you have to do each effect each time a monster is summoned on Topologic Blaster's points. So be really careful when utilizing this card and with crafting your end boards, because this card will shuffle back cards and there's nothing you can do or say about it. So we're going to Wizard. Wizard is going to summon. We're going to summon back Marshare in this example. This triggers Blaster Dragon. We're going to use the extra deck effect. That is the safest effect that we can do with Topologic Blaster Dragon. So we already looked at our opponent's extra deck. We banished one card from it, which is already really strong against certain decks. Like, imagine you using this against Yummy and you're just sniping their only copy of Snatchy. Like, they're gonna need to play through hoops in order to get that Snatchy back. Or let's say you're playing to a Canine variant and you see Ripper. Like, bye-bye Ripper. Let's say you're playing against like the Malice Mirror match and you just take away their Lizardos or their Red Ramson. Like, they're not winning the mirror without red and without white binder. So we're going to use these three, and we're going to summon Heart Scripter. And Heart Scripter is going to be part of our end board. Now, you're probably thinking, why are we ending on Heart Scripter and we're not ending on something like Allied Code Talker, right? Well, the reason we're ending on Heart Scripter is because of Forbidden Crown. So, if we read Forbidden Crown, right? Forbidden Crown does 6 things to a monster, and neither player can activate monsters in response. The monster that you use Crown on has its effect negated, cannot attack, cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, really important. Unaffected by other cards, activated effects except its own, also really important. Cannot be tributed, and cannot be used as a material. So, by crowning our own Cryptor, this Cryptor cannot be super polyed, this Cryptor cannot be kaiju'd, this Cryptor cannot be destroyed, this Cryptor cannot, is unaffected by other cards. Like, this Cryptor pretty much just stays on the board. It's pretty much a Towers monster. Now, you're probably thinking, why are we crowning our own Cryptor? Like, our Cryptor gets negated by Forbidden Crown, right? Well, here's the really fun thing about Cryptor. If we take this part of the effect right here, this is a card condition and not a card effect. So, if we have a monster tied to the link points of Heart's Cryptor, the Cryptor can still activate its effect to shuffle back and banish, even under Forbidden Crown. Which is kind of fitting. We're shuffling back to V11 and we see like a crown holding up to Cryptor's head. I digress. So, we now have an invincible Heart Scriptor that can at any moment in your opponent's turn banish a card, non-target banish a card. And your opponent has nothing to do about it. Your opponent cannot do anything about it. And let's say your opponent has like very specific cards that can target monsters, even unaffected monsters. Well, with GWC, you can bring back March Hare, and the March Hare makes it so it cannot be targeted. The crown protects from activated effects. Passive effects like March Hare that prevents it from being targeted also work. So this is untargetable, indestructible, invincible, untributable, and it can shuffle back a card at any moment. And this is without talking about other interruptions like your Impulse and like Magna Liger and like MTP07. You can just bring White Rabbit and just empty TP07 your opponent while you control this hard scripter. Another really fun thing about Forbidden Crown is you can still banish as cost for your Malice Trap cards even under the Forbidden Crown. So if you need this hard scripter to come back and be able to attack again and just have his attack like duplicated, you can like into a board, you can summon hard scripter, crown your cryptor, use cryptor to try to out your opponent's board, and then use a Malice Trap card to banish the cryptor and then resummon back the cryptor. This card is really strong in the Malice strategy, and this is just one of the very few examples of it. If you've been watching the Turbo spell build that I've been playing of Malice, this card is very welcome because at worst it is Radiant Typhoon Vision fodder. Alright, that's it from me. I hope you found this informative and to your liking and understanding. I think Burst Protocol is a set that welcomes a lot of strategies, and Malice is no exception to this rule. Until next time, keep practicing and keep dueling.